I don't know. Oh! That one's gonna be censored. Dang it!
This is the future. Evolution. Evolution.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. This is the report for August 1st, and I'd have to say it's fair to good, just depending on the day and the time that you're out there. So we'll get into that in just a minute. I've got a lot to cover, so we're going to start off covering the little bit of business, then we'll get into the report. First off, this is for the kayakers out here, and especially for the kayakers that are fishing saltwater. And I got a call from Paul Chang recently, and we've got a Fish and Game Commission coming up in Fortuna, California on the 14th this month. Paul is going to be up there, and he's going to really be pushing for this non-motorized vessel petition. For all the kayakers that fish offshore, they've pretty much shut down or really limited the inshore rock fishing. The fishing is open only if you're out in over 200 or 250 feet of water, which basically for all the guys that live and breathe saltwater fishing, you kayak guys, if you want to just get out and go offshore in shallow water, you can't do it. It shut it off for them. They can't get out to that 250 mark. So there has been a petition. It's called the Non-Motorized Vessel Petition, and that is a petition to allow the kayakers to go out or allow anyone to fish in water under 250 feet deep. Sure. So the meeting is the 4th. Paul is going to be up there, and he's going to be fighting for you kayakers. But if you haven't already checked it out, go to the Non-Motorized Vessel Petition. Just Google it up, and you will find that site, and there's a survey on there. Take the survey. That gives Paul some clout and some information that he could take up to the meeting and hopefully get you guys a fishery for this coming year. Second, I want to talk a little bit about a picture I had up last week of a nasty looking fish, and I'm just going to call it the fish ick. Well, after I showed that picture, I got a couple other guys that showed pictures of fish that they had this similar fungus or whatever it is. I didn't know what it was. And actually, I caught another fish that looked like that. So I'm trying to get some information on what this thing is. And as close as I can tell, it's a viral infection caused by either poor water quality or high water temperatures. And that makes sense because our water temperatures in the Delta have been up to about 83, maybe even 85. From what I gather at this point, this viral infection most of the time is not deadly to the fish. They will survive. As soon as the water starts cooling off, they'll recover and live to fight another day. Now, I do have some threads out to a couple of my biologist friends, and if I get any information on that, I will relay it to you. One thing I want to say is we have to be really careful this time of year when we're catching the fish to handle them gently, get them back in the water quickly, and they're stressed this time of year, hot water, probably been caught before, so just get those fish back in the water and make sure that they swim away unharmed and we can catch them again. Next on the agenda, I'm going to talk about the problem of the week. This goes to my buddy, Coach Ted. I'm going to show a couple pictures. First picture I'll show you is a picture of Ted holding up an 8-pounder. That's not the problem. So now I've got the problem of the week, and you can see what it is. Ted's got a nice sized treble hook right through his finger and right in almost through where his fingernail comes through. Ted's a tough guy. He told me this story. Caught the fish, had got the hook out of there. He's by himself. He removes the hook by himself with a pair of old rusty pliers, I would imagine, and continues fishing. Not me, buddy. I get that, something like that, I'm probably going to pass out on the bottom of the boat. When I wake up, I'm calling the paramedics. They're going to meet me at the dock with a gurney. They're taking me to the hospital. Anyhow, problem of the week. All right, let's get into the reports. River conditions are about the same. Water temperatures around 80 degrees. If you go up around the McCollum, it gets a little cooler. Down south, I've even got temperatures, 83 to 85 degrees midday. Ambient temperatures have ranged from 106 degrees to 85 degrees in the last week. So it really depends on the days that you're out there and the time that you're out there. The water tends to warm up 2 to 3, maybe even 4 degrees surface temperature from morning till evening. 5 feet of visibility in the central delta. I know I'm still getting some days where there's a lot of boat traffic and the waves are clouding up the water. 2 to 3 feet. Down south it may not be 5 feet, but we're talking central delta about 5 feet of viz. Now the stripers, they're still out there. I'm getting a few reports, just not a lot of interest in the stripers. But if you're a hardcore guy, you can still get them, especially out on the Sacramento side. But we're going to kind of bypass that, and we're going to get right into the largemouth report. We'll start off with the UFC 10, the frog tournament last week. They had just under 100 boats. And the results at the top were really pretty good. It took the team of who won this thing, Ho and Long, had 31 pounds 7 ounces. Now remember, this is a 2-day frog tournament, short days, 6-hour days, and 3 fish per day. So if you look at that, that's a little over a 5-pound average per fish. Frogs only. That's a pretty darn good. Pretty good average. So bottom line we should take out here is if you're a frog guy and you like punching those frogs and you're going to stay on it, you're probably going to get some big bites and you're going to catch some nice fish. If you looked at the entire field, especially near the bottom, there was a lot of guys that had some really tough days. They fished for 2 days without weighing in a fish. A lot of guys had 1 or 2 fish. So it was tough for some, and from the middle of the pack up, they actually did pretty well. They got some nice fish. I talked to Rob Cloutier, who fished the tournament, and he said there was a lot of talk going on that a lot of people hook fish that lost them, and I'm going to get into that in just a minute because I've been seeing that with my fishing too. Just big fish rolling on baits, getting the fish that I am catching. A lot of them have been, I'll call it snagged if I'm using a walking bait, or the hooks are not right in the mouth, the bait's not in the mouth, you catch them on the side of the head, so on and so forth. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Got one more thing with that. Almost forgot it. I've got a big congratulations to a friend of the channel here, my friend Marlon Carpenter. Marlon's the owner of the Crappie Closet Baits. Marlon's not a big-time bass guy. He's a big-time crappie guy, but he fished the tournament and got second place for the big fish, and that was a 7.8-pound fish that Marlon picked up on a frog. And I gotta just throw it out there, get a picture of Marlon up there, and congratulate Marlon. For you guys that know Marlon, nicest guy you'll ever want to meet. And remember, Crappie Closet Baits, he's donated a real nice prize package. We're going to give that away on a video coming up soon where we talk about fishing panfish on the Delta. So congratulations, Marlon. All right, got a lot of reports this week. I want to thank you guys for sending in those reports. They really help. And I've been out fishing, what was it, Tuesday? I was out all day, got in late Wednesday morning. I'm doing the report, and I'm not able to get a lot of your pictures that may have come in a little late. So you guys, if you don't see your picture up this week, check out next week's video, and we'll get that going up. We'll get your pictures up next week. All right, let's talk about Michael. Michael, a couple weeks ago, won one of the 10,000 subscriber gift certificates, $50 gift certificates from the Bass Hole. He sent in a report. I got a picture of Michael with one of Bobby D's buzz baits in his mouth. He went in, picked up a few baits. Rob talked him into buying one of the Bobby D's, and he got a nice fish on a buzz bait. I want to thank Michael for, number one, being a subscriber, and congratulate him once again for winning that prize package. And looks like it got him some good karma. He got a good fish. So don't forget buzz baits, and if you're looking for a good buzz bait, I do like that Bobby D's. Rob's got them over at the Bass Hole. I want to give a shout out to Gabriel. I got a picture from Gabriel. Just so you know, Gabriel's going to be doing a Delta-related YouTube channel. It's going to be starting to load up pretty soon, and the name of his channel is going to be Keepers on the Delta. So, you know, give Gabriel a shout, check it out, and check out that Keepers on the Delta for more Delta-related YouTube information. Let's get into the skinny of what's been going on out on the Delta. Fair to good. It is good if you know the Delta and you are out there finding moving water, clean vegetation, and you're out there at the right time and the right day. If you're not fishing or fishing in or around a little bit of moving water, you're out there on the wrong day, it's been tough. A lot of folks are sending in reports that the bite has been finicky. It is definitely tide related, and most of the reports, whether it's high, outgo, or, you know, incoming, around the first 2 hours when that tide starts moving, as soon as it starts picking up where you can see, hey, I start to have moving water, you've got about an hour, maybe an hour and a half to have a pretty good bite window, whether it's high tide or low tide. As long as the tide starts to move and you're in the right place, you're probably going to catch some fish. But in between those periods, it can be slow, and the bite windows, you'll have a little bite window where you come up to a pot of fish and you catch a few fish here, and then it could be slow for a while until you get in that right location and hit that right tide. What's going on out there as far as what are people catching them on? Well, if you're looking for big fish, obviously they're catching some nice fish on frogs, and the punch bite is coming on. I'm getting more and more people sending in reports that they're catching fish punching. Not necessarily great big fish, but that bite is coming on. Some of you folks may have been having trouble finding surface vegetation to punch. They have been doing a lot of spraying. There's a lot of dead vegetation, especially out around Mildred. All I could say with that is, you know, if you see that, you go to your favorite spot and it looks like it's been sprayed, just move a little bit. They're not spraying miles and miles at a time. Generally, if you move a half a mile in one direction, you're going to find that clean punch water, that clean surface vegetation, and you will find some punch water. I have been doing really well on offshore flats that are maybe, you know, at least 1 to 2 feet at low tide, and they go up to 3 to 4 feet on higher tides. I've been having better luck out on those flats at the higher tides, throwing topwater baits over the top of them. And again, there will be days when I go out and it seems like, you know, the fish just aren't eating the baits. I'm getting a lot of fish that are slapping at the baits. They get hooked on the side, or they get hooked on the side of the head, and they just don't have them in their mouth. You go out to that same spot the very next day, or maybe on a little different tide, and every one of those fish has the bait lodged in its mouth. So keep that in mind. If you get out to a spot and it looks great and you're not catching fish, or they're just not active, maybe leave that spot and then come back at a different tide or on a different day. There may be fish there. It's just a finicky bite. I will also say that the AM bite and the PM bite are still pretty darn good. It's a fairly short bite window, about 45 minutes. There's no reason to get out there in the morning while it's dark and fish till sunlight. The fish don't start biting till the sun comes out. Same thing in the evening. If once that, you know, 9 o'clock hits or so, as soon as it gets dark, that bite deteriorates, and the after dark bite, it's just not worth it. It hasn't been for me, and I haven't had any reports where guys are out there getting these big fish on swim baits, you know, after dark. Just hasn't materialized this year. Worms, both drop shot and weightless Cinco in Margarita Mutilator is doing great. I mean, you can't beat that color in the Delta. I know it's not sexy to talk about that, but that's the one that they're using in Green Punk and Cinco. It's just, those are the baits that are the worms and the colors that are catching fish. Both 5 and 6 inch. Go with the 7 inch if you want bigger fish as far as the worm goes. Another bait that you want to make sure that you don't put too far on the back burner is a spinner bait. Chatterbaits are catching fish, but when the chatterbaits aren't necessarily working or they're not feeding on real heavy, go to a spinner bait, whether it's white, black and red, or some type of crawfish color. Spinner baits are working. There's also kind of a minor bite with jerk baits. Usually jerkbaits don't catch big fish this time of year, but if you take those jerkbaits and keep them out of open water, pitch them into the little pockets of tules and little places where you would pitch a jig and just get it in there and twitch it a couple of times. The bigger fish have been responding to jerkbaits, and I've had several reports on guys using that technique. So it all boils down to where you are, the time of day you're there, and the day that you're there. You can't get discouraged. You can fish for 4 or 5 hours out there and catch 1 or 2 fish, and the last hour that you fish or the last 2 hours you fish will make your day, especially with these bigger fish in the mix. And there are a lot of big females that are still recovering from post-spawn, but they're out there and they're starting to feed, and I think it's going to get better and better. So I want to thank you guys once again for sending in all of your reports. It really helps me figure out what I'm going to talk about on the weekly report. With that, go out there. The water's great. Weekends have been busy. Weekdays have not been busy at all. You can go out and find open water anywhere. And go out and have a good time. Let me know how you're doing. Until then, see you guys on the river. Good luck.